Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 2nd, 2025. No, 2026. Gives you an idea of the way time works for me. At approximately 8 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's calling to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I've built myself a spiritual guide, as the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I personally guide virtually every decision I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into things, I do desire to tip my hat to Storm. He is our primary moderator and usually hides in the background to make sure that tech keeps working properly. And rest assured, with me, that can be a challenge and a half. Okay? But he's also there to make sure that problem children, when they arise, are removed before they become problems. Now, you got to realize, I've had a lot of people tell me that my moderators are bullies, okay, or are too harsh. Understand, I'm the one that said, be that harsh, because the reality is my only other option is just to shut the stream down entirely, okay, because I'm not about to tolerate. This is supposed to be a safe zone for virtually everybody. And yes, oddly as this is going to sound, that includes wannabe bullies. As long as you follow the guidelines listed clearly at the top of the stream, as well as scrolling across the bottom of the screen, it's easy enough to figure out what you're doing. Okay, now let's just scroll down here a fraction. And we have Cosmic, you are in with the gold. And today we're talking about the impact of stress upon finances. Now, there's a neat little correlation here. Virtually everybody I know that is under stress does exactly the same thing. Okay, what they do is they end up spending more money trying to convince themselves they're content than they ever would if they were actually content to start with. Now, I figure I've got moderators here. Acknowledge the fact they're here. Let's face it. It's people like LA Moon. LA Moon is our primary moderator in the chat room. She is there to watch and keep the kind of communication lines going and questions popping up when necessary. Okay. To it, if you've got a question, pop it into the chat room in all caps. That way I can find the thing. Okay. She is also there to keep a very close eye on my own physical health. She's trying to interrupt all the fun of watching me have a heart attack on air. I'm not sure if that's qualified as fun. I know my wife behind me here will certainly not agree that that's fun. But, and speaking of that, we have Kira Ava, the other moderator we've got. She is both a moderator, well, both. She's a moderator, my editor-in-chief, and my wife. Okay. And she's there to keep an eye on problem children, as well as keep an eye out for questions you guys happen to pop up. Okay. Now let's just scroll up here. Got that all sorted out. And Jeff, you are in with the silver. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, we're looking at the impact of stress upon finances. Now, understand, I spent most of my life, I really don't know the percentage of it, really probably 90% or better, fighting severe depression. Okay. And I finally reached a point where I went, I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm just going to go, I'm depressed. Okay. And, this sounds odd when you think I've got this stream, Positive Perceptions, and a magazine, Positive Perspectives, that talk about keeping a positive outlook on life. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Well, here's the kicker. I've watched this world tear itself apart, and I'll tell you, it's hard to find the positive side of things on occasion. Matter of fact, quite often. But that said, okay, it is a question of taking a look at what happens. Now, right off the bat, guys, and this will change the way you look at your money, however tight your finances are, if at all possible, which pretty much means, yeah, even if you're short on cash, if you take 1% out of every dollar that comes into your possession, before you do anything, take 1%, put it in your pocket as mad money. This is the money that you go and buy a chocolate bar with, buy a coffee with. If you're a multi-billionaire and you take 1% of your income as mad money, go out and buy an apartment building. I'm not the one to tell you what you consider useful or what you consider successful. I'm the one to tell you that 1%, we are talking 1 penny on every dollar, or $1 out of every 100. Okay, by doing that first, what you do is change the energy of the money coming into your house from I'm working to pay my bills to I'm working and paying my bills. Okay, now the reality of it is, when you're looking at that, okay, you are looking at a situation that is really quite simple. Okay, you've taken that money and said, okay, yes, I'm broke as all get out. Now, functionally speaking, the only difference between a person that's barely making ends meet and a person that's a millionaire is the millionaire can buy more loaves of bread than the guy that's barely making ends meet. Okay, but what I have found people do, and when I say I've found, it's because I've got well over 100,000 clients that I've dealt with over the years that literally they all do the same thing. If they go into depression, how many people do you know of that, oh, I'm really depressed, I'm really sad, I'm really unhappy? What do? They go out and buy a bucket of ice cream or they buy a chocolate bar. And yes, I will tell you, there's a lot of people that will buy alcohol and drugs. Absolutely, they will. They're still looking for an escape. Okay, and I know this sounds absolutely twisted and beyond belief, but you take that 1% and put it in your pocket, that will change the feel of the money. It won't change the amount of money you've got, but it will change the feel of it. I should say it won't change the amount of money you've got on the surface. It will alter your spending habits, and it will alter the way you feel. And that is the critical factor right there. Now, there's all kinds of things that we could look at as far as going, how do you make your money stretch? And we will get to that, but not tonight. Stress, whenever you're wound up, people are taught, go out, man, you're taught this right from the time you're a kid. I mean, think about it. Kid in the back seat, your own child in the back seat is crying, they're having a meltdown, whatever. What is the thing that parents do? Virtually every parent I know. Okay, I'm talking modern day. I'm not talking the parents from my age that went, knock off that crying or I'll give you something to cry for. I always thought that was a little twisted. I was in tears. I already knew it. I already had a reason to cry. So I swore I would never do that to my kids. So what I did was I turned around and went, knock off the tears or I'll give you something I consider worth crying about. Okay, but when a child is throwing a temper tantrum in the back seat, most parents will turn around, and if they don't thump on them, and I know that's just an absolutely heinous idea, absolutely agree with you. Most of them will turn around and go, if you knock off the tears, dear, I'll buy you an ice cream or I'll buy you something. Like the money's actually going to make them feel better. But it does distract them. And this is what people that are fighting with stress do, is they look for a way of altering the stress or distracting themselves from it. I'm laying odds most of you have done this. Okay. I'm just scrolling up here periodically to keep an eye on things.
Yeah, so far we're okay.
The important thing here is this. When you're getting stressed out, if you don't have a way of having a little bit of money you don't have to account for, and that's where mad money comes in. Okay, if you've got mad money, you can go, I would really like a chocolate bar, just because chocolate makes me feel better. Trust me, for me to say chocolate makes me feel better, I got to sit here and lie to you. Okay, I'm not good at the chocolate thing. But I do have my go-tos, if you will. And yeah, I know some of you that know I was diagnosed diabetic are going to look at me going, you're drinking Coke. And I'm even doing it the barbaric way. I'm drinking it straight from the bottle. But here's the thing. I like my Coke. I used to like the other stuff. Now I gave that up. I still deal with this stuff. But I do have a buddy who made the mistake of using this stuff one day accidentally, like most of us used to use the white stuff. And rest assured, according to him, this is a bad idea. Okay, but when you're stressed, you're going to spend more money trying to convince yourself you're happy than you ever will if you're actually happy. Okay, I used to go down, like before Kira moved up here, I used to go down to Wings. Wings is the restaurant that I live at. As a matter of fact, it's so bad up there in one sense. Well, how bad is it? I walk through the door and, the waitresses and the owner literally will tell me, go and grab your seat. I have my own seat, my own booth that is just mine. Right? If it's available, I get it. But I used to go down 4, 5, 6 nights a week. Right? But once Kira moved in here, I actually am not going to Wings as much, or more to the point, I'm not eating as much. Okay, not there. Sadly, I'm still eating a fair chunk. Yeah, Cosmic goes, my crutch is tuna and crackers for snacking and ice cold water. Yeah, and honestly, I'm told by nutritionists that warm water is better for you. I don't know about you, Cosmic. I don't care. I like the feel of cold water. This is why I keep it in the fridge. Unfortunately, my fridge actually keeps it colder than the counter. But, everybody's got a crutch they turn to. Tuna and crackers is actually a healthy crutch. Okay. Now, that said, when you're fighting stress, when you've had a really bad day, so many people turn around and they go, I had a bad day, right? So what do they do when they come home? They grab a drink. Well, my drink is usually coffee. I've gone through, one there. I'm actually tying off my third pot today. And the reality is I thought put nicely with coffee one day regarding coffee. You have your first cup of coffee, to help you get your head on straight. After that, every cup of coffee is to help you deal with the idiots you have to deal with. Now, the fact I've gone through 3 pots of coffee today may give you an idea of how well I deal with people. Okay, you got to understand, here, I don't have a problem because if I have a problem, I shut the thing off. And amazingly, everybody leaves me alone at that point. Cosmin goes, don't drink alcohol, but use medicinal cannabis for health purposes. See, I used to use just cannabis, and it didn't matter to me whether it was medicinal or not. But it did help me avoid hurting people. And bearing in mind a lot of complications there. But the thing is this, when you're stressed, whether it's because you've had a bad day at work or you've just been dealing with all kinds of complications because of traffic. Bueno, how we doing? Hey, there we go. Buenos from Oz. Glad you could join us. Bueno, you are in with, I believe you are, yeah, you're in with, let's try English here, the bronze. And right behind you comes Flubber. And you, Flubber, are in with honorable mention. How you doing? You know, the thing is, when we are looking at stress, if you ever hear the concept of, oh, I had $1 burning a hole in my pocket. I'm telling you, if you got $1 burning a hole in your pocket, you got the wrong other things in your pocket. Now, of course, especially up here in Canada, you know, you really don't want a $1 burning a hole in your pocket. Just trying to see if I've actually got one here. There we are. See, now picture what you got to have in your pocket to burn a Canadian dollar in your pocket. Okay, that's got to get pretty flaming hot. But the reason for it is this. I'm stressed. I need to relax. Some of you make the mistake of going, I'm going to go to the casino. And I'm going to, I'm going to promise myself I'll quit at a certain point tonight. But I'm going to go in, I'm going to win money, and I'm going to come out of it feeling better. The reality of it is this. This is not against anybody that gambles, okay? The reality is you take a breath today, you're gambling, okay? I loved it. A total sidetrack here. Decades ago, I found I stumbled across an article that told us the #1 cause of lung cancer. And you're going to love this one. #1 cause of lung cancer is breathing. Now, granted, you stop breathing, you won't get lung cancer. My guess is it's not going to be good for your health, though. But when you're stressed, you're going to spend money to try and distract yourself. Now, there are other distractions people use. Okay? Some people go the other direction. They go, I'm really depressed, so I'm not going to spend any money. I'm going to yell at people around me because that's going to make me feel better by making them feel worse. By the way, this doesn't work as well as you might think. And those of you that are empathic know that absolutely solidly. One of the things we have to realize about stress is stress will make you do absolutely dense things. And Kitty Cattywhack, how you doing? Glad you could join us. At this point, okay, it's time to start handling your finances properly. Now, here's an idea for you, and you used to be able to do it. And if you've got this, if you've got the ability to do this, I strongly recommend it. Okay, even if you've only got a dollar coin or a quarter, right? Playing with it in your hand. If you can get a bunch of nickels, okay, pick the nickels up and run your fingers through them. They will help you. It's, what do they call it? Oh, they call it a fidget.
Fidget, yeah. I have a few here.
But by doing that, it can distract you a little bit.
Magnets, coins, marbles, things like that. Pebbles, like just something, like even like something like kinetic sand or things like that. Those are awesome fidgets that you can use to help kind of regulate some of the energy going through your system.
Now, of course, some of us are a little twisted. That I'm going to have to deal with. Because this is my son and I definitely get to deal with him. Yeah, hello. Talk to me. Hey. Yeah, neat little thing there. I've always told people, I even tell people when I'm doing psychic consultation, there's 3 people I will interrupt whatever I'm doing for, except possibly the police. Okay, but I don't deal with them much anyway. You know, and that will be either one of my sons or my wife. Okay, everybody else kind of gets put on hold. And that's the way, in my opinion, it works. But here's the thing. When you're stressed, you will find a way to distract yourself. Now, some people go, I'm going to distract myself by yelling at other people or by getting into a fight. Now, some of us are a little weird. Okay. In my case, I think I go way past the little weird. But if you look right at the top of at the center of the screen, at the top, you'll see something that looks a little like a pair of eyes. That brown little thing there, that's a knife. Kind of like Crocodile Dundee. That's not a knife. This is. That's a 9-inch Bowie. When I get stressed, I play with that thing or any other number of knives I can play with. This thing here. I like sharp objects. What can I say? But you've got to find a way to bring things into balance. Okay. And did I miss somebody coming in here? Oh, there we are. The thing is, when you're stressed, you're going to find a way to make yourself feel a little better or to distract yourself from what's going on. Okay. Some of you, when stress hits too high, like one individual I knew personally, well, more to the point, know personally, whenever they get really stressed out on an emotional level, they burst into tears. Okay. Now, this is somebody that is usually composed. Okay. And by the way, we're not talking about me. I came to the conclusion bursting into tears for me is painful. The heart's already bothered, but my acid level is so high that I actually burn my face if I cry. So there's all kinds of ways that you can distract yourself. But the problem is, when you get stressed, the go-to for most people is spend money. Go gambling, go drinking, go buy chocolate, go to a restaurant and fill your face until you can't eat anymore. And then sadly, some of you will go, oh, now I've eaten so much and I feel guilty and now I'm going to throw up. Some of you throw up because you just plain ate too much. But by taking 1% of every dollar that comes into your house from whatever source it comes, put 1% in your pocket. That is mad money to go and do what you will. But the reason for that is because it changes the energy of the money from I'm working to pay my bills to I'm working and paying my bills. Okay. And I know that sounds weird, but if you haven't done it and you're still finding you're stressed to the gills, do your own research and give it a shot. Okay. Honestly, like Bueno's just saying, I do 5%. Right, sometimes 10. Now, here's the kicker. I can't speak for your country. Okay, or for your income bracket. But I recommend if you're making money throughout the year and you have to pay taxes, I recommend taking 25% off the net check. Target that to put aside for taxes at the end of the year. It has 2 impacts. One, you've got the money sitting there just earning a little bit of interest. And if you have to pay taxes at the end of the year, it's done like that with no strain to your current finances. I don't have that option right now. Okay. Myself, I just don't have that kind of income. But am I getting things organized? Yeah, in spite of the mess I'm in. Okay. Now, you know me, I'm about as blunt as they get. There are others that are blunter, but they're also, they tend to swear a lot more than I do. Of course, you haven't ticked me off. One of the things, and I only just told this to Kira. Okay, I didn't say a word about it, but about a month ago, my stress caused. No, I didn't go to the hospital for this, so let's not go down that rabbit hole. Okay, but about a month ago, I had another micro stroke because of the stress I've been going through. I'm telling you, I swore I wasn't going to have another stroke. Well, apparently that didn't quite work, but it only affected one side of my upper lip, and after about 2 weeks, it stabilized itself, or more at the point I stabilized it. But it wasn't until a week later that it finally clued in what had happened. And like I said, no, I didn't go to the hospital. I did, however, start my heart meds and my herbal approach. I did get back on track with it. Stress, when they say stress kills, yeah, bueno, I did land on my feet as soon as I knew what happened. And this is to every one of you that has a partner or a family member that you like. When you have a problem, be absolutely blunt and honest about it. Okay. Now, I didn't tell my wife about it to start with because I didn't recognize it. The moment I knew what it was, I went, here it is. I says, look, I didn't tell you because I didn't know. Now I'm telling you, and it's too late to worry about it because it's already dealt with. And there's no way I can prove it because if I go to the hospital and they check, they're going to miss it like they missed the other one. Works out well. I will tell you, for me, they're consistent. Okay, that's not necessarily a compliment, but stress itself, the comedy is stress kills. It does. If you permit stress to get to you, blood pressure goes up, pulse goes up, muscles go into fatigue, and all of a sudden your brain shuts down. Now, I know there's many of you out there that I swear the brains have already been shut down. When I was a kid, we used to worry about the zombie apocalypse. Now I watch people texting and walking into traffic. And I kid you not, they literally walk into traffic or into a telephone pole, which is entertaining to watch, but
I just wanted to point something out. So, this mad money idea of putting 1% in, it doesn't sound like a lot at all. And you kind of look at it, at least I did for a while. I looked at it and went, oh my gosh, this is just pointless. Like we're not going to get anywhere with it. And in a way, it's sort of like I look at it now and go, maybe that was sort of the point. You kind of forget about it. You make it routine. And then the next thing you know, when you look at your account and you're like, wow, I have $100 in here. Where did that come from? Looking at it, it's a little like, sort of like finding, I forgot and found money in my couch cushions or whatever, but a little bit, because it's deliberate, it puts a whole different psychological feel to what you're doing. So I think for me personally, yeah, it sounds really silly at first, but it really does work. And I can personally vouch for the fact that it changes the entire feel of why you work. So.
I just got to grab something here because I saw something on air here. Look, that was a near disaster. Bueno. This is literally towards you and anybody else. This thing is, from my end, this is a blood pressure monitor. I picked one up. When I picked it up, it cost me under $100, right? And I keep close tabs on mine. Because blood pressure, I got news for you, that can mess you up really badly. Okay, but yeah, absolutely. I strongly recommend keeping an eye on it, especially if you're living in a state of constant stress. The nice part about it is the one I've got, it's battery operated, so it doesn't take much. But get a handle on it. Because I don't know about you, but blood pressure for me, my blood pressure goes up too high. And this again is stress. my stress level goes up too high, blood pressure goes up too high. All of a sudden, things like my heart stop. Now, on the good news, my blood pressure goes too high, my heart stops. I hit the floor. Because I'm no longer breathing, my blood pressure drops. This is a lousy route. Stop that before it gets to that point, because most of you won't survive that kind of routine. Me, it's just plain normal. Probably not good, but when you start taking that money, and only 1%, we are talking 1 penny out of every dollar. That's it. Okay. But it does change the impact. Now, this means, if you think about it, if you're making $500 on a paycheck, I'm only talking about $5, the price of a cup of coffee. 1 cup of coffee. Unless you go to Starbucks, at which point you better be making a lot more money. But that literally changes the energy. And again, don't take my word for it. If you haven't done it, give it a shot and see what happens. You know, the fact of the matter is, many of you are fighting tooth and nail to keep a roof over your head. Okay? And don't kid yourself. The people that go, oh, I bought a house. Yeah. Most of them, oh, how much did it cost you? Oh, it was only $200,000. Well, you know what? Most people that do that, they have literally taken a debt of close to $180,000. So yeah, I own my own house, and I'm only $180,000 in debt. Okay, this is not, in my eyes, a good trade-off. Don't get me wrong. Real estate is a good thing to have if you can take care of it. If you can't, it's a big problem. Okay, but again, no matter whether we are talking a pauper or a millionaire, okay, 1% works. Operation, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, I will tell you, if you know how to track your money, do so. If you don't, you've got a couple of options. The least expensive of which is go to your financial advisor in the bank and ask them to show you. Now, if they're what I call a good bank with good bank services, they get taught, they are trained to help you manage your money. Well, if you can't manage your money at home, I'll tell you, the bank ain't going to help a lot.
Something else too, especially now in the digital world, and for those who are able to actually do this, if your bank, and a lot of banks do this now because of the digital world, they offer a service where you can get notifications of transactions, and when you reached a certain balance, you can monitor spending, things like that. Absolutely take advantage, as you're able to, of those services, because you'll be able to have records of everything that you do if you're like me and can't mentally handle tracking all of the numbers manually.
Thank you very much for that, Kira. You know, the reality is, I still rely on paper and pen more than I do on computers. But computers do work. You got to remember, computers were designed, they were patterned after the corporeal brain. But when you're looking at stress will drive you to buy things that, number one, you don't require, and number two, you're probably going to regret buying it. Not the least of which is those of you that are still walking down the road I used to walk down. Okay, now I was lucky and unlucky at the same time. I only suffered alcohol poisoning twice. Never did I ever have a hangover, unless you count the alcohol poisoning. Okay, so you go out, yeah, I'm really depressed, I'm going to drink my depression away. I'll drink myself into a stupor. It doesn't make the problem go away. Okay. Oh, look at that. Philip is here. How you doing, Philip? Glad that you could join us. You know, the reality of it is distractions don't make the stress go away. Now, my go-to used to be alcohol, but has always been D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. So I come home from a particularly stressful day, and we'd all get together, and somebody come to the door, myself included. I got to kill something. I got to find a way to release the stress. Now, many people will turn around and get into a physical fight. I'm allergic to pain, so I don't go there. What have we got? Oh, there we go. Cosmic Joe goes, ever since I started using Rocket Money, I had less difficulty with my finances. Now, I'm guessing, Cosmic, that is a program.
Rocket Money is an app, yeah.
Okay. Now, I recommend any app that works for you, utilize it. I don't use apps aside from Excel, which isn't an app, right?
Not in the technical sense, no, but...
Bueno, this is fantastic news. Bueno is just letting us know, what is it? Tomorrow, Bueno is 23 years clear of a gambling addiction.
Oh, good for you. That's hard to beat. Good for you.
Now, I am curious, Bueno, if they, if where you are, if they have a gambling addicts helper up here in BC in Canada. They've got a program here. You can walk up to the casino owner, to management or any of the tellers and go, I've got a gambling problem. Put me on a watch list. It takes you a nanosecond to get on the list. As soon as they see you, they will escort you out of the building. Okay. It takes a nanosecond to get on the list, but it takes 6 months to get back off it. Now, I don't know if that is how you used it, Bueno, and I don't really care. My point is you found a way to get off it. Congratulations. Okay. And you notice when you were gambling, it didn't do a thing to drop your stress level. Fairness, it likely added to it.
12-step program. Interesting. I actually only thought that was for alcohol and drug addiction.
No, to be honest, Kira, every program I've ever seen, the 12-step program works like a charm. There are flaws with them. I'm not going to go into it. When I first looked at numerology, that is what drew my attention to that 12-step, to the 12 points, because the reality is everything can be done in a methodical fashion. Most people are not like me. In all fairness, everybody is unique in their own way. In my case, when I quit drugs and alcohol, I quit cold turkey on both at the same time with no withdrawals. And yes, I can tell you how to do it. Okay, because I don't know about you, but I've seen people go through withdrawals, and it's no fun. Okay, if you're really sick and twisted, it can be entertaining to watch, but like I said, you gotta be really twisted. Some people make the mistake of going, I'm really stressed, I'm going to go out and drive really, really fast. Not a brilliant idea. Because no matter what car you're driving, you're relying on about 16 square inches of rubber. And that's it. Oh, there we go. And Philip's going, Buddhism is actually a 12-step program. Interestingly enough, 4 Noble Truths and 8-Fold Paths. Now, I cannot speak to it yet. Okay, but it is something to consider. I've already read the Bible cover to cover. I'm about halfway through the Book of Mormon. And I've got a copy of the Teachings of Buddha, which is the next on my reading list. Okay, but when you're looking at stress, unless you're extremely abnormal, okay, you're going to, in all likelihood, end up spending way more money trying to convince yourself you're happy, sometimes by going, I'm going to live life large. And everybody's going to look at me and go, oh, you're so, you've got everything going for you. It's what I tend to call politely self-deception.
Yeah, and I've been caught up in it, and Keith is right in that sense. It really is self-deception. So,
one of the things that we have to remember is you have to be the one that reaches a point and says, I'm spending money and I'm not happy anymore. The first thing that you have to look at, the first thing I recommend you look at, are you content in your life right now? Okay. If you are not, it's time to start shifting gears. And this is what we're working on here. And yeah, these are tools that I'm personally using myself. One of the important factors here is people say, oh, get a financial advisor to handle your money. This is, it's a good move, but it is a better move to handle your own money and get an advisor or a friend or whatever to keep an eye on it with you. Okay, I asked Kira, because I was spending way too much money going out, right? I asked her to help keep an eye on things and not tell me I can't do it, but remind me when I am.
Yep, and on that side of it, I've asked Keith because I have a tendency to get caught up in alcohol, and I've asked him to help keep an eye on things for me from that side as well. So if you've got the support system and the people with you, don't hesitate to talk to them and ask them to help you.
The fact of the matter is, when I tell people we are all connected, the thing that's kept me on this stream has literally been the fact that so many of you have reached out to me when I get to that point going, this is just insane. Now, those of you that keep trying to catch me on a day in the office, I've had to look at it and go, if I'm up to it, I'm going to be there. But there are days when it just doesn't work because life is just, life's life. So I am doing my best and will continue. It'll still only be Friday to Tuesday. But as you've seen, there are days I just don't make it. Here, I tend to make it. And there's two reasons for that. One is I've got one heck of a support crew here. Storm in LA, where it comes to tech and emotional support and spiritual guidance, are bang on the money. There are a dozen people that I've got on a list that I know if they tell me something, they're going to be honest. One of the things that I turned around and found is with them, they have done a phenomenal job, and we give them a break when we can, i.e. special days. You need the day off, go, right? But it's because of that I keep coming back here, and more importantly, because so many of you have told me, when I've talked about shutting down, I've gotten emails from people going, no, please don't, because this is helping. Okay. And in all fairness, it does help me. This takes an hour of my day and dedicates it. This is going to sound really weird, but there are days when there's not a lot of activity in the room, and I'm sitting here talking to myself for an hour about the things that I should be getting done. Okay. But focusing on yourself, you must be true to you first. Okay. Stress will cause you to do all sorts of dense things. Okay. Now, I know people, I kid you not, I'm really stressed out. I'm going to go skydiving. I'm like, you're stressed out now, so you're going to get in a plane that's working perfectly and get out of it. I'm not sure, but this to me does not seem all that relaxing. Fire away.
Yeah, I was just thinking, well, for you, yeah, it would be. There are people, though, like, I know I don't really necessarily go with the adrenaline rush myself very much. I actually used to a little while back when I was dealing with a lot of anxiety. I actually would overload my system with adrenaline to learn how to cope with the anxiety because I had no other choice except to deal with the body's reactions as they stood. So that's one particular reason why people may go to adrenaline, because that in and of itself can be very addicting. They like the risk, they like the feeling of, oh, I conquered this particular thing, and that too can be its own distraction from stress. Sometimes a release, other times it's more a distraction depending on what's going on with the situation. But yeah.
Yeah, and Kira's absolutely right there. I mean, understand, Kira is 100% blind. Okay, and it was a blind person who told me this. We got into the idea of skydiving and why not do it. This guy looks at me and he goes, "You do realize why blind people don't skydive?" And of course, I'm looking at it going like I missed it. I'm like, well, they can't see when to pull or shoot. And he goes, "No." He says the reasons blind people don't skydive is because of the fact it scares the living daylights out of the seeing eye dogs. And I mean, this came from a blind person. I'm like, okay, that's twisted. But where it comes to finances, I will tell you, I am not materialistic, which is why I look at what I require to live, to cover my bills, my living expenses, that sort of thing, including entertainment and savings. And let's not forget food. Because I don't know about you, but I like my food. Okay. But I have already worked out a formula whereby once I am generating a total income of $2,500 a month, I am able to take upwards of 80% of that, of the excess, and spend it helping other people. Bear in mind, that means I'm taking 20% above what I require in order to actually get ahead. Okay, it's a long, drawn out process, but I know how to do it. Now, where am I here? We are there. So ultimately, finances, you've got to start watching. You've got to start paying attention to them. Correction, you don't have to. If you're enjoying living paycheck to paycheck, if you're having fun stressing about, oh, do I have a roof over my head next week? Okay, if that's your idea of fun.
Yeah, that's one way to get an adrenaline rush, I guess. But
I'm thinking it's a little off kilter on occasion. Yeah, LA goes adrenaline junkies, firefighters, nurses, doctors, reporters have an addiction to the rush. MMA is the adrenaline rush, and I'd have that over a lot of other things. But I'm paying the piper now. Arthritis being a big one. Yeah, arthritis being a big one. I lucked out when I tore my leg apart. I didn't get arthritis. I just got a leg that decides it's not going to work anymore. Right? It's great. I can fall down real easy. This is why I look at the person on Facebook one day. They went, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a shortage of gravity. We are running out." And my first thought was, well, apparently you're not running out of good drugs. But that's just me. Well, maybe not just me. Yeah, I appreciate the suggestion there, Philip. Now, here's the thing. I've got those books listed off. I'm currently also in the process of doing all the writing I'm doing, which I'll get to that in 5 seconds. I'm right now halfway through reading an encyclopedia about nature. And I do mean cover to cover a 15-volume encyclopedia. What do we got here? Woo, how you doing? Glad you could join us.
Oh, he's got a question for us too, looks like.
It looks like a comment, really. It's easier for you to heal others. Oh, is it easier? It's absolutely easier for me to heal other people, to go, this is what's necessary. I've got some pretty stupid habits right now, and they're proving to be a little bit of a pain in the neck to put behind me. But it's easy to see the problem. But again, people, you cannot protect somebody from themselves. You know, now the reality is I'm in the middle of, I'm writing books all over the place. I'm about 2/3 of the way through writing the next Believe in Your booklet. And speaking of which, Storm, I've got to get that one to you. I've got the soft copy now. Believe in Your Success is about to hit the site. So if you go to the link at the top of the stream to buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej, all of the books I've got available, you can get there. The Believe in Your Success and Follow Your Dreams is about to get up there. Okay. And I'm about 2/3 of the way through writing Believe in Your Imagination and Follow Your Dreams. Oh. Oh, there you go. Who wants to know if you're making sure you're taking care of me?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm doing my best, though I've been told I should probably take care of myself more so that I can actually accomplish what you're asking. But actually, no, it is getting a lot better on both sides of that. So, yes, absolutely.
The important factor from my standpoint is this. I left it too long. I left it too long in as much as in 3 months I'll be 63. If you're younger than I am, get on it. And thanks so much for that, LA. We are down to the 10-minute mark.
Just about 5, actually. Looks like 8 minutes, so yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. The reality of it is this. If you're not tracking your finances now, get on it immediately. Don't mind me just deciding whether or not I'm going to sneeze. It's a pain in the neck. If you ever had that problem where you get that sneeze, it's going, I'm going to come, and don't think so. I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm not going to. It gets to be annoying. Oh, there you go, Cosmic. See, I wasn't supposed to make it very far. I mean, you think about it, I died in the incubator. So the fact I'm here, I think we qualify that as living on stolen time. But the nice part about this is I finally figured out what I should have done. And this is why I say, don't take my word for it. But I will tell you, if you're listening to me now, this tells me that there's something that you're looking to get to accomplish that you haven't found the key to. Yeah, who goes, having a good sneeze is warranted and feels good. Kind of like a good stretch. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we have to remember about stress and finances. Stress, when you get stressed, your health suffers, never mind from the stress. Many people stress eat, net result, they end up double their weight going, I don't understand what happened. Well, what happened is you were stuffing your face. Okay? Or you were doing the one-arm curl. And I'll tell you, a one-arm curl when you're grabbing a bottle of beer every 5 minutes is going to add inches to your waistline. And it's not good inches. But the nice little, Oh, there we go. LA goes, I wasn't supposed to live past 98. I fixed that. I fixed that, fired the doctor. See, I'm not the only one that looks at doctors and goes, not going to happen. Yeah. You would have loved the one I pulled on a poor young lass. I'm guessing she was somewhere in her late 80s, early 90s. But I went in to see my brother who was in the hospital. This is years ago. Went in to see him, and this woman's looking really rough. I looked at her and I says, this is going to sound really weird. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to come any closer to your body. But I said, you're not looking any very healthy. And she goes, well, the doctor said I'm going to die next week. I went, oh, this is going to sound weird, but can I see the bottom of your left foot? I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to come any closer. For whatever reason, she kicked her foot loose. So, and no, she didn't start dancing. But she showed me the bottom of her foot. I glanced at it and looked at it and went, nope, you're not going to die. And she goes, well, the doctor said I am. And there's two nurses right there. I said, I won't argue what they said, but you're not going to die. Well, how can you be so certain? I says, there's no expiry date on the bottom of your left foot. Well, she put her foot back under, looking a little confused, and walked away. And I walked away. A week later, I'm back in there, and here she comes trundling down the hallway, walking, using it. She's got a IV line attached to her. And she looks at me, looks at the doctor that's with her, and she points at me and yells at the dang near the top of her lungs. That's the man that told me I wasn't going to die. That's the man that was right. You guys were wrong. Right? The poor doctor looks at me and he goes, how could you have possibly known? I said, I looked at the bottom of her left foot. There was no expiry date. Right? Needless to say, he was a little confused, but she was happier than all get out. Finances are the same thing. You don't have to take my word for it. But if you're stressed over finances, that 1% in your pocket will absolutely help you cope with it much better. Oh, there we go. Will goes, I gained 20 pounds back last month, up to 215. Been eating too many woo sweets. It's made me feel like a slob. We notice my energy levels down, especially at work. And you are, that said, Woo, get back on track and cut it back. You'll pull it off. I've dropped 80 pounds, averaging 1.5 pounds a week for 3 years. And bueno, on this last little note here, you are right. Laughter is one of the best medicines. Okay, one of the best things that you can do. Like YouTube works beautifully. Find a child laugh track. Okay, any kid that is laughing, listen to them. It is contagious. Okay, and it's an excellent illness. Now that said, I know we're down to the last few minutes here.
Yeah, really quick. Can you give some people, our viewers who may be coming in later and can't read the chat, can you give them just a quick idea of where to get a hold of you?
That's the easy part, and it's actually an idea. If you go to the top of the chat room, okay, you'll find a link there to buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej. Okay, that will lead you to all the books I've written. It'll lead you to the link to this stream and to how to get a hold of me for private consultation, personal and business, as well as the free magazine I put out. Okay, now tomorrow we're going to be looking at the social side of life. Get to know your neighbor. Why? Okay, now this is coming from somebody that is extremely reclusive. Okay, I don't have to leave the house. Okay, I leave the house literally to draw Kira out of it. Okay, but I can disappear like that without a problem. So tomorrow we will be dealing with that. Where am I here? Gotta get back to where I was. Okay. I appreciate that, LA. The reality of it is this. If your stress level is high, it is time to start deliberately tangling with it and going, I'm no longer going to deal with that. Now, I used to be a professional procrastinator. Now I just plain don't do it. I don't mean I don't procrastinate. I mean I don't put things off. I just don't do them. You know, one of the important factors I run into, okay, is you cannot do a thing about how you got to where you are. You may not even know how you got to where you are, but you do know where you are. You're either happy with where you are or you're not. If you're happy where you are, stay there. And I believe that goes if you're happy and clap your hands, which by the way means smacking yourself because you're happy. Sadomasochist dream. I know that was twisted.
That was very twisted.
But we will be back again tomorrow. I'll do my best to get back here for a day in the office. Okay, at 4 p.m. tomorrow. But we will be back here. Wait a minute.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, we will be back here with the question of get to know your neighbor. Why? Okay, and that'll be at 8 p.m. Pacific. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.